no catalyst. And suddenly I would be being dragged by the hair.
Overdose, CPR in progress.
On the morning of Thursday, the 13th of August, 2026, a hearing took place in a courtroom in Los Angeles County. The matter before the court was procedural, and whatever was said that morning was said to a judge, a prosecutor, a clerk, and the walls. 72 hours later, on the afternoon of Sunday, the 16th of August, an actress named Hayden Panettiere was found unresponsive on the floor of an apartment in Greenville, South Carolina, roughly 2,200 miles from that courtroom. Paramedics worked on her for the better part of 40 minutes, but they did not succeed. And 3 days after that, a federal law enforcement agency, one that does not, as a rule, involve itself in the sudden death of a private individual, and one whose remit has nothing at all to do with a family court matter in Los Angeles, joined the investigation into what had happened in that apartment. In the days after the 16th of August, this became one of the most heavily covered celebrity deaths of the year, and if you have followed it at all, you will have absorbed the broad shape of it without particularly trying. What you may not know is what happened in that Los Angeles courtroom on the 13th, because the hearing on the 13th of August has been reported accurately and by more than one outlet, but it has been reported in fragments, buried under the volume of everything else, and almost never placed in sequence with what came afterwards. Read on its own, it is a footnote. Read in order alongside the 15th and the 16th and the 19th, it becomes the first fixed point in a chain of events that is now in part a federal matter. This is not a retelling of a death. It is a reconstruction of a calendar. 4 dates. What is documented on each of them. She kept going back, repeatedly, publicly, in the full view of the press. In April 2021, Hickerson was sentenced. He reported to the men's central jail in Los Angeles the following month and served 13 days. Within roughly 2 months of his release, in July of that year, the two were photographed together at a bar in Los Angeles. He told reporters they had not resumed a relationship, but were working on a friendship. Within days, they were photographed together again. A source told people at the time that she would not forget what he had done, but that she wanted to forgive and move on, and that she was sober and doing very well. By September, paparazzi had captured them out together twice more. He continued to deny they were back together. At that point, he was still on formal probation for injuring her and still subject to a 5-year protective order arising from the same case. In 2022, there was a further and highly public episode. Video obtained and published by TMZ showed Panettiere and Hickerson involved in a violent altercation outside the Sunset Marquis Hotel in West Hollywood, a confrontation that spilled from the hotel restaurant into the street and involved multiple people. According to a statement her representative gave to the Los Angeles Times, the dispute began over a comment Hickerson made to another patron about leaving a waitress a poor tip, after which that man and his group began badgering and shoving him, and hotel security pushed everyone outside. Her spokesperson said Hickerson was then attacked by the group, as was Panettiere, who had tried to defuse the situation. In the footage, she can be heard shouting 2 words at him: Brian, jail. She was in that moment trying to stop him, and the shorthand she reached for was the consequence she knew he faced if he raised his hands. By 2025, sources were describing them to TMZ as just friends.
Relationship stand now?
Our relationship now, I think it's just a back thing.
In the spring of 2026, promoting a book in which the abuse she suffered at his hands is documented in detail. She said publicly that she was single. 3 months after that, they flew to South Carolina together. None of this is unusual. Researchers who study intimate partner violence have written for decades about the cyclical nature of these relationships and the number of separations that typically precede a final one. What is unusual is only that this particular cycle happened in front of photographers and that a substantial portion of it, therefore, exists on the record. So the question of why she was on that plane has an answer. And the answer is not a mystery. It is a pattern 7 years long, and it was visible to anybody who was looking. The 13th of August, 2026. A Los Angeles courtroom. Judge Olivia Rosales presiding. The matter before the court was a petition filed by a man named Brian Hickerson, then 37 years old, asking that 2 felony convictions on his record be reduced to misdemeanors and then dismissed entirely. The convictions were his own. They dated from April 2021, and the complaining witness in the underlying case, the victim in the language of the court file, was Hayden Panettiere. To understand what was being asked for on the 13th of August, you have to understand what was on the file. Panettiere and Hickerson began a relationship in 2018. In May 2019, he was arrested by the Los Angeles Police Department following a physical altercation at their home. Officers reportedly noted redness and marks on her body. The Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office charged him with injuring a girlfriend. In February 2020, he was arrested again, this time in Wyoming, following a separate incident in which she alleged he had punched her in the face. He pleaded not guilty. In July 2020, she obtained a restraining order against him. And around the same time, he was charged in an 8-count criminal case covering a series of incidents between May 2019 and January 2020. Those 8 counts included battery, assault with a deadly weapon, and intimidating a witness. In April 2021, the case resolved. Hickerson pleaded no contest to 2 felony counts of injuring a spouse, cohabitant, girlfriend, or the parent of his child. The remaining 6 counts were dismissed. His sentence was 45 days in county jail, of which he served 13 the following month. For years of formal probation, 52 domestic violence classes, $500 in restitution, a 5-year protective order, a prohibition on purchasing firearms. That is the record he was asking the court to erase. Under California law, a defendant who has completed the terms of his probation may petition to have certain felony convictions reduced to misdemeanors and then to have them dismissed, a process most people know by the shorthand term expungement, though the legal effect is narrower than the word suggests. It does not delete the conviction from existence. It does, however, materially change how it appears and what a person must disclose about it. It is a routine application. Thousands are filed. Many succeed. This one had already failed once. Court records obtained by people show that Hickerson made a substantively similar request in July 2025. Prosecutors opposed it. On the 18th of July 2025, a judge denied the petition and ordered him to wait 1 full year before filing again. He waited the year. He filed again, and the hearing was calendared for the 13th of August 2026. According to TMZ, when the matter was called, neither Brian Hickerson nor his attorney was present in the courtroom. The district attorney's office was. Prosecutors opposed the petition on a specific ground, that the representations being made about Hickerson's present-day conduct did not hold up. They argued in substance that he was not sober. To support that, according to court records obtained by people and reporting from TMZ, the prosecution pointed to 3 things. The first was an interview Hickerson had given in May of 2026, the same month her book was published, in which he spoke publicly about his past relationship with Panettiere. Prosecutors argued that in that recorded interview, he appeared to be under the influence of a stimulant. The second was the content of that interview. Per TMZ's account of the hearing, the prosecutor told the court that there existed a documented interview, running roughly 15 minutes, in which Hickerson discussed the abuse that had been documented in his victim's best-selling book, and in which the prosecutor said he made several admissions about it. The third was his contact with law enforcement in the intervening period. Prosecutors cited his encounters with police in 2025, including an arrest at a restaurant in West Hollywood, where, according to the prosecution's account, he was intoxicated at the time. Judge Rosales denied both requests. She declined to reduce the felonies to misdemeanors, and she declined to dismiss them. Her stated reason was one sentence: he has not remained free of new offenses. Sloan Ellis, an attorney currently representing Hickerson, has declined to comment on the expungement proceeding, and that ordinarily is where the story of the 13th of August would end. A man tried to clear his record for the second time in 13 months. A judge said no for the second time. The file was closed, and the courtroom moved on to the next matter. 2 things are worth holding on to before we move to the 15th. The first is that everything in this section is a matter of public record. It comes from court filings, from a confirmed statement by the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office, and from reporting by People, Page 6, and TMZ. None of it is anonymous, none of it is inferred, and none of it is in dispute. The second is that it has nothing whatsoever to do with South Carolina. As of the 13th of August, this was a closed criminal matter from 2021 being litigated in Los Angeles about paperwork. It concerned events that had occurred 6 and 7 years earlier. It was, in the most literal sense, about the past. 2 days later, Saturday the 15th of August, Hayden Panettiere and Brian Hickerson traveled together from Los Angeles to South Carolina. That is the entire content of this section, and it is deliberate. There's a great deal we do not know about the 15th of August. We do not know who proposed the trip. We do not know what its purpose was. We do not know what was said on the flight, or whether the hearing 48 hours earlier was discussed, or whether she was even aware it had taken place. Nobody has said. It is possible nobody will. What is documented and reported by People is that they traveled to South Carolina together, and that Hickerson has ties to Greenville and to the state more broadly. Their relationship had been on again and off again for the better part of 7 years. In 2025, sources characterized them to TMZ as being just friends. That is the state of the evidence. 2 people got on a plane. At 1:51 on the afternoon of Sunday, the 16th of August, a call was placed to 911 from a residence inside that complex. The caller reported an unresponsive female in cardiac arrest. According to TMZ's reporting on the sequence, Zach Hickerson, Brian's brother, entered the residence and found Panettiere in cardiac arrest. Brian Hickerson was asleep in a separate bedroom at the time. Zach called 911 and then woke his brother. In a statement given to TMZ, Zach Hickerson described what happened next. He said he immediately called 911 and that Brian administered Narcan, the brand name for naloxone, an opioid overdose reversal agent. He said the 2 of them then jointly performed CPR with 911 on speakerphone until fire and emergency medical services arrived. He said that at that point they watched as responders tried every measure possible to save her life. The dispatch audio from that afternoon, which was obtained from a public broadcast archive, references a possible overdose and CPR in progress. 2 details in that account deserve more attention than they have received. The first is the Narcan itself. Naloxone works by displacing opioids from the receptors in the brain that suppress respiration, and it works fast, typically within 2 to 3 minutes of administration. It is close to useless against anything that is not an opioid. It will do nothing for a benzodiazepine, nothing for a stimulant, nothing for alcohol, and nothing for cardiac arrest arising from any other cause. Which means 2 things follow from Zach Hickerson's account. The presence of Narcan in that apartment indicates that somebody in that household had anticipated the possibility of an opioid emergency and had prepared for it. And the fact that its administration did not produce a recovery indicates either that it came too late, or that whatever she had taken was not an opioid, or was not only an opioid. That is not a conclusion. It is the range of possibilities that the reported facts permit, and it is a range that only a toxicology report can narrow. The second detail is what the paramedics did next. They initiated what the coroner's office would later describe as advanced cardiac life support, an escalation well beyond chest compressions, involving intravenous cardiac medication, airway management, and continuous monitoring of heart rhythm. It is the most aggressive intervention available outside a hospital, and its use tells you that responders were treating a patient they believed still had a chance. Resuscitation was unsuccessful. Hayden Panettiere was pronounced dead at the scene at 2:32 in the afternoon, 41 minutes after the call was placed. She was 36 years old. Her 37th birthday was 5 days away. The Greenville Police Department's incident report from that afternoon was subsequently obtained in heavily redacted form by CBS News and by TMZ. It is a short document, and it is worth going through carefully because it is one of the few primary sources in this case that anyone outside the investigation has actually seen. The responding officer is named in the report as Matthew Bryan. He recorded that he arrived at the residence on Easley Bridge Road in response to an EMS assist for an unresponsive individual. He recorded that Panettiere was with Brian Hickerson and Brian's brother Zach when she died. He recorded, and this is the observation that has been quoted most often, that she did not seem to have any obvious physical reasons to be unresponsive. He recorded that Brian Hickerson showed him a bag of medication belonging to Panettiere. The specific medications are not identified in the release document. They are redacted. Based on the structure of the redactions, it appears that approximately 9 separate drugs were listed and blacked out. And he recorded one further thing, which received far less attention than it deserved. He wrote that he had spoken with the courtesy officer of the Judson Mill complex, a security professional or off-duty officer who lives on site, and that this officer had CCTV footage of all 3 individuals coming and going from the premises. The courtesy officer advised that he would be filing a supplemental report and uploading that footage, which means the following is true and is not speculation. There exists video in the possession of investigators showing the movements of Hayden Panettiere, Brian Hickerson, and Zach Hickerson into and out of that building in the hours preceding her death. That footage has not been released. It has not been described. Nobody outside the investigation has characterized what is on it. The report also states in the standard language of such documents that it was unknown whether Panettiere had been using drugs or alcohol at the time of her death. The following day, Monday, the 17th of August, the Greenville County Coroner's Office conducted an autopsy. It found no signs of trauma that contributed to her death. The coroner's office announced that her official cause and manner of death remained pending further investigation and the completion of additional studies. Toxicology testing was ordered. The office indicated that results could take up to 8 weeks. 8 weeks from the 17th of August is the middle of October. As of the publication of this video, no cause of death has been released. No manner of death has been released. She has not, in any official sense, been determined to have died of anything. Greenville police, for their part, issued a statement that included a line which has since been quoted in almost every article written about this case, that there were no signs of foul play during the initial response and investigation. The department added that it was handling the matter in the same way it handles all death investigations, that it would not be participating in media interviews, and that it works with the coroner's office, receives its findings, reviews the facts and evidence, and then decides whether a criminal investigation is warranted. Read that sequence carefully because a great deal of the confusion around this case lives inside it. The department did not say a crime had been ruled out. It said that at the scene on the day, nothing obvious presented itself, and that the decision about whether to open a criminal investigation would come later, after the coroner reported. Both of those statements can be true at once. They describe 2 different points on a timeline. On the morning of Wednesday, the 19th of August, 3 days after her death, officers from the Greenville Police Department went to the family home of Brian Hickerson. TMZ, which reported the visit, characterized it as police seeking information from Hickerson regarding any circumstances that might be connected to Panettiere's death. On the same day, TMZ published an account sourced to law enforcement personnel involved in the case, which described the shape of the investigation more directly than any official statement had. According to those sources, police were conducting a death investigation specifically to determine whether any criminal conduct lay behind her death, and they were not satisfied that what had happened was simply a tragic overdose of prescribed medication. One law enforcement source told the outlet that the death investigation had been triggered because her death was unexpected, given that she was only 36. The same reporting described police running a parallel investigation alongside the coroner's office to determine cause and manner of death, and stated that the probe would also examine whether there had been any illegal activity involved. That reporting is not an official statement. It is sourced to unnamed individuals, and it should be weighed accordingly. But it was not contradicted, and it was picked up and repeated by mainstream outlets including the Washington Times, which reported the same substance. That Greenville police were investigating whether criminal conduct played a role, but the case had been flagged because the death was unexpected for a woman of that age, and that the autopsy had shown no signs of trauma with toxicology still outstanding. So by the 19th of August, the position was this. A woman had died. Nothing at the scene suggested violence. Nothing in the autopsy suggested violence. And police were nonetheless asking whether a crime had occurred. Then on the same Wednesday, the investigation acquired a second agency. The Drug Enforcement Administration joined the investigation into the death of Hayden Panettiere on Wednesday, the 19th of August. The development was reported the following day by the New York Times and ABC News, each citing sources familiar with the matter, and was subsequently confirmed by People and reported by CNN. The Greenville City Police Department remains the lead investigative agency. The DEA is assisting. That is the precise formulation, and it matters because it is narrower than the headline suggested. This is not a federal takeover. It is a federal agency lending its resources to a municipal police department in South Carolina. But it is still unusual, and it is worth being clear about why. The Drug Enforcement Administration is not a general-purpose investigative body. Its remit is the enforcement of federal controlled substances law, trafficking, diversion, distribution networks. It does not investigate deaths. It does not assist local police as a matter of course when a person dies unexpectedly at home. Thousands of Americans die of overdose every month without the DEA being anywhere near the file. When the agency does attach itself to a single individual's death, it is generally not because of interest in the deceased. The New York Times, in its reporting on the development, noted that the DEA has become involved in investigations following other sudden deaths of well-known people, and specifically cited the 2023 overdose death of the actor Matthew Perry. That comparison has been made repeatedly in the coverage, and it is the right one to reach for, provided it is understood correctly. In the Perry matter, the federal interest was never in Perry. It was in the chain of people who had supplied him. The investigation ran outward from the death, not inward toward the victim. It is also worth understanding what assisting actually buys a small municipal department, because the phrase sounds like a formality and is not one. A local police force investigating a death has jurisdiction over a building, a set of witnesses, and a body. It does not have subpoena power over pharmacy records across state lines. It does not have access to federal prescription monitoring databases or the analytical laboratories that identify a compound and then match it to a batch, or the standing informant networks that connect a batch to the person who sold it. A department the size of Greenville's can investigate what happened in an apartment. Tracing what came into that apartment and from where is a different order of task entirely. So when a federal drug agency attaches itself to a local death file, the practical effect is that the investigation acquires the ability to look outward, beyond the room, beyond the state, and toward supply. Whether the same logic applies here is not something anybody outside the investigation is in a position to state. The DEA has made no public statement about the nature of its involvement. When the Post and Courier contacted the agency on the 21st of August, it received an automated response noting that non-urgent press queries could take up to 48 hours. What can be said is this: two agencies are now looking at the same afternoon. One of them exists to investigate the movement of controlled substances, and the coroner has not yet said what killed her. It should also be said plainly, because it will not be said anywhere else in this video. No authority has publicly identified a suspect. No authority has concluded that another person caused Hayden Panettiere's death. The involvement of the DEA is not a finding. It is a fact about who is now looking. Return for a moment to Los Angeles. There is a version of this story in which the hearing on the 13th of August is simply a coincidence, an unrelated administrative event that happens to sit 3 days before a death, made to look meaningful only by proximity. That version is entirely possible, and nothing that follows should be taken as an argument against it. But it is worth understanding what the 13th of August actually established in a courtroom on the record, with the prosecutor speaking and the judge ruling. It established that as of that date, the state of California took the position that Brian Hickerson had not remained free of new offenses. It established that prosecutors were prepared to argue in open court that he appeared to be under the influence of a stimulant in a recorded interview given 3 months earlier. And it established that a judge, having heard that argument, agreed that the record should stand. 3 days later, he was in an apartment in South Carolina with a woman who had once been the complaining witness in that same case, administering an opioid overdose reversal drug to her while his brother spoke to a 911 dispatcher. None of those facts are connected by any authority. No investigator has drawn a line between them. Sloan Ellis, representing Hickerson, has stated that Panettiere's death remains under investigation, that it is important to allow that investigation to proceed, and, as has been publicly reported, that police confirmed there were no signs of foul play. That is the extent of what can responsibly be said. The dates sit where they sit. They are not an argument. They are a calendar. In the 10 days following her death, a remarkable number of people said a remarkable number of things, and the resulting noise has obscured a genuine and rather strange split in how those closest to her have characterized what happened. Consider the two statements issued by her own representative. The first, given to ABC News shortly after the DEA joined the investigation, was brief and forward-looking. There was nothing to be shared at that time as the investigation was ongoing, but they were hopeful that justice would be served. The second, issued to us weekly in the last week, was longer and considerably sharper. It condemned what it described as gossip and speculation from people who had not been close to Hayden and who were using her death as an opportunity to comment on a situation about which they knew very little. It called that deeply disrespectful to her memory and to those grieving her. And then it said something that has been repeated everywhere since, largely because of how it sits alongside the rest. It said there is much more to this story than what is currently being discussed publicly, and that those closest to Hayden were actively cooperating with the ongoing investigation to help ensure that the truth comes to light and that justice is properly served. Two words are doing a lot of work in that statement. One is truth, which implies that something currently understood is inaccurate or incomplete. The other is justice, a word which, in the ordinary use of English, implies that somebody is answerable for something. It is not possible to know what her representative meant. It would be irresponsible to guess, and this video is not going to. But it is legitimate to observe the shape of it, a statement that simultaneously condemns speculation and confirms that the public account is incomplete. Meanwhile, from the family, an entirely different set of signals. Leslie Vogel was Hayden Panettiere's mother. She was also, for the first 19 years of her daughter's career, her manager. That dual role is central to the memoir, and it was not treated kindly in it. In the book, and in the interviews around it, Panettiere described a relationship in which everything was business. She described telling her mother at 19 that she no longer wanted her to manage her career, and she described the response she received as consisting of two words: "You owe me." She said money she had earned had gone toward things she was not privy to. On Jay Shetty's podcast, she described the relationship as incredibly uncomfortable. They were estranged when she died. On the 18th of August, 2 days after her daughter's death, Vogel gave a brief telephone interview to NBC News. In it, she said that Hayden had been an amazingly talented person in many departments, and that for young people who grow up in the entertainment industry, it is a struggle, a very challenging industry, and not unusual for them to sadly find the wrong path. The reaction was immediate and severe. On CBS Mornings, Gayle King addressed the statement directly, saying that reading it, all she could think was, "Thanks, Mom, for nothing." She said it made her sad that this was what Vogel had chosen to leave the public with, given the opportunity she had after her daughter's death. Megyn Kelly was similarly blunt, saying that Vogel had failed at her job. On Monday, the 24th of August, Vogel sat down with Good Morning America for a full interview. She said she had been numb when she heard. She said she wanted Hayden remembered as the talented, beautiful, outgoing, intelligent woman she really was. She addressed her critics directly, saying that she would say to the haters out there that they did not have a right to tell her how she mourns the loss of her second child, the reference being to Jansen, who had died 3 years earlier. She disputed the memoir. Asked about the "You Owe Me" exchange, she said she recalled being in her daughter's trailer and literally saying nothing, that it was a very short and brief conversation, and that she knew she had not said what her daughter said she had said. She placed the beginning of her daughter's decline at 16, at Heroes, when Panettiere became the lead of a network drama and acquired a degree of independence that Vogel says she watched turn into something else. And separately, speaking to the New York Times, Vogel made an allegation about Brian Hickerson, that he had pawned some of her daughter's belongings. That is an allegation from an estranged parent made to a newspaper in the immediate aftermath of a death. It has not been tested, it is not a criminal charge, and Hickerson has not responded to it publicly. It is included here because it is on the record and because it forms part of the picture of what the family has been saying, not because it establishes anything about the 16th of August. So the representative says stop speculating, and also says there is more to the story. The mother, estranged, disputes the memoir's account of her and levels an allegation against the boyfriend. The boyfriend's lawyer points to the absence of foul play. The boyfriend's brother has given a detailed public account of the resuscitation attempt. Everyone is talking. Almost nobody is saying the same thing. There's one voice in this that has been almost entirely absent from the coverage, and it belongs to Panettiere herself. In 2023, after her brother died, she gave an interview to People magazine about her grief. It was a difficult conversation, visibly so, and clips of it circulated online. A section of the internet decided, on the basis of that footage, that they knew what was wrong with her. Commenters called for the video to be removed. Others speculated openly about what she was on. She responded publicly, and what she said then reads very differently now. She said that grief looks different on everyone. She said that whether or not she was on medication was nobody's business, and was between her and her doctor. She said mental health was important, and she hoped those reading would understand that what you say, hiding behind a computer screen, can have a detrimental impact on someone. 3 years later, her representative issued a statement about people who were not close to her using her death to fuel gossip about a situation they knew very little about. The same objection, the same speaker's position, almost the same words. She had, in other words, already lodged her complaint about the way this would go in advance about herself while she was alive to make it. That is worth sitting with for a moment before we return to the timeline, because there is one more conflict on the record, and it goes directly to the question of what her situation actually was in the months before she died. We have already established what she said publicly in May. She said she had shaken off the darkness. She said she had more life to live. In the days after her death, Page 6 published an account, sourced to unnamed insiders, which described a very different spring. According to that reporting, during a Nashville stop connected to her book promotion, hotel security stopped a delivery to her room said to include alcohol and industrial nitrous oxide canisters, the substance commonly known as whippets. The account described her as unhappy that the delivery had been intercepted. That account was rejected outright. Casey Kitchen, Panettiere's representative, and for the same reporting, a genuine friend independent of the professional relationship, called the claims false. Kitchen stated that Panettiere had been in Nashville for a short amount of time, that she slept for most of it, and that she had private security with her. Separately, other reporting has described physical decline. Her hairdresser and close friend Eric Orellana told Page 6 that her health issues were really severe and were affecting her mobility, saying that at one point it was even hard for her to move her legs. A source told TMZ she had been complaining of back pain over the previous year. A co-star from her final film, the psychological thriller Sleepwalker, released in January, described her as moving slowly on set. We are therefore left with two irreconcilable accounts of the same 3 months. In one, a woman completing the most significant work of her life and describing genuine recovery. In the other, a woman in serious physical difficulty whose sobriety was, according to anonymous sources, not what it appeared. A characterization her own representative has flatly denied. One of those accounts is closer to the truth. Toxicology may indicate which. It may not. What can be said is that this is precisely the gap her representative may have been gesturing at with the phrase much more to this story, and precisely the gap that has been filled in the last 10 days by an extraordinary volume of guesswork. One further thread, because it has generated more public heat than almost anything else in the story, and because it is genuinely separate from the death investigation. Panettiere worked with Neutrogena from 2005 to 2015. In her memoir, and in her May appearance on Jay Shetty's podcast, she said that the company had ended the partnership after she spoke publicly about her experience of postpartum depression following Kaya's birth, and that it had invoked a morals clause in doing so. She had described that experience in unusually stark terms. Not panic, not anxiety, a total absence of feeling, holding her newborn daughter and registering nothing. After her death, those comments resurfaced. Neutrogena's social media accounts were flooded with negative comments. Calls for a boycott spread across TikTok. Coverage noted pressure on the parent company's share price. On Thursday, the 20th of August, Neutrogena responded on Instagram. The company said it had not wanted to speak out so soon following her passing. It said it was proud to have partnered with her, and that it understood it had made her feel unsupported during a very difficult time. It said Hayden's courage in sharing her challenges had helped inspire important conversations and awareness. And it said it was making a significant investment in a long-standing community health partner to help give more women access to support, including care for postpartum depression, with further details to follow. The following day, Friday, the 21st of August, what would have been her 37th birthday, Vladimir Klitschko posted a tribute to her on Instagram and asked people to think about love. While 2 agencies have been examining an afternoon in Greenville, something else has been happening more slowly and with far less coverage, and it is arguably the more consequential of the two. In the days after her death, a number of former child actors began speaking publicly, invoking Panettiere's name alongside those of Davy Chase and Michelle Trachtenberg, and arguing that the protections available to children working in American film and television are inadequate. The argument they are making is specific. It concerns premature sexualization, the exploitation of minors whose earnings are controlled by adults, and the rates of addiction among people who entered the industry before they were old enough to consent to entering it. That conversation has a direct line back to the memoir and to the single most important thing in it that nobody is investigating. She said someone on her professional team handed her stimulant pills at 15 years old. She described that person as somebody with whom she had already developed a close bond and a great deal of trust, which is why, she said, she did not perceive what was happening as inappropriate or negative at the time. She only understood it later, and what she understood it to be, in retrospect, was the entrance to a chemical dependency that shaped the worst 2 decades of her adult life. She did not name that person. She was asked on the Tamron Hall show why she had chosen not to name any of the people who had harmed her, and her answer was clear-eyed to the point of being uncomfortable. She said that as much as she wanted to call people out, this was still an industry she had to exist in. People are not readily willing to admit what they did. In another interview, she was more specific. The people she had declined to name were generally people within her industry, people she could run into again, and she did not want to put herself in that position. There's no federal agency assisting with that. There's no coroner's report pending on it. There's no expected date in the middle of October when anyone will find out who handed a 15-year-old girl a pill before a red carpet in roughly 2005, or whether that person is still working. It happened 21 years ago. It is unresolved, and it is the only part of this entire story with a documented beginning. Set aside every theory that has been advanced in the last 10 days, and this is what genuinely remains unresolved. The toxicology results, ordered the 17th of August, expected to take up to 8 weeks, which places them somewhere around the middle of October. Until they return, there is no cause of death and no manner of death, and every confident claim about how she died in either direction is running ahead of the evidence. The medications, roughly 9 drugs, listed in the police report and redacted from the released version. Nobody outside the investigation knows what they were who prescribed them, or whether all of them were prescribed at all. The footage, the Judson Mill courtesy officer's CCTV, showing 3 people entering and leaving the building in the hours before she was found. Uploaded to investigators. Never described publicly. The federal question, why the Drug Enforcement Administration attached itself to a municipal death investigation in South Carolina on the 19th of August, and what, if anything, it is looking for. The agency has said nothing. The criminal question, whether the Greenville Police Department, having received the coroner's findings, will conclude that a criminal investigation is warranted. By their own description, that decision comes after the report, not before it. And the sentence, there's much more to this story than what is currently being discussed publicly. Issued by her own representative, still unexplained, and still the single most consequential thing anyone connected to Hayden Panettiere has said since the 16th of August. For dates, then, the 13th in a Los Angeles courtroom, where a judge declined to erase a record. The 15th on an airplane. The 16th on Easley Bridge Road. The 19th when the federal government arrived. They are separated by hours and by thousands of miles, and no investigator has connected them. But they are, all 4 of them, on the record. And in roughly 8 weeks, a coroner in Greenville County will publish a document that determines how many of them belong in the same sentence. Until then, that is the record. Nothing more and nothing less. Everything in this video is drawn from court records, police reports, coroner statements, statements issued by representatives and attorneys, and published reporting by ABC News, CBS News, CNN, The New York Times, People, Page 6, TMZ, The Post, and Courier and the Washington Times. Hayden Panettiere's cause and manner of death have not been determined. Police have stated that they found no signs of foul play during the initial response and investigation. No authority has named a suspect. No person has been accused of causing her death, and nothing in this account should be understood as such an accusation. Brian Hickerson's 2021 convictions are a matter of public record. They have not been connected by any authority to what happened in Greenville on the 16th of August, and the reporting concerning the hearing on the 13th of August concerns a separate legal matter from 2021. Where accounts conflict, both have been given. Where sources are anonymous, that has been stated. Where nothing is known, nothing has been supplied. If this is the kind of case you want covered this way, in order from the documents without the guesswork, then subscribe to the channel. When the toxicology report is released, this story will be updated here with the same standard applied to whatever it says. Hayden Panettiere was 36 years old. She spent the last year of her life trying to tell her own story accurately, and she said repeatedly that she hoped what she had been through would happen for a reason, and that it would help somebody. The least anyone owes her now is to get the facts right. Thank you for watching.